is a boutique education advisory that helps aspiring students get accepted into top-tier education institutions globally for high school, undergraduate, masters, MBA and
Hello everyone, I hope you can hear me and see me as well. And yes, welcome to yet another episode of Ask Me Anything, in which we are going to be answering all of your questions and queries with regards to your study abroad plans, with regards to your job prospects. So it's great to see you all on this lovely Friday evening. I hope you all are staying safe and sound. Hi Abel, I hope you are doing well. So yes, as always, we are live today and I am going to be waiting for my CEO, Ms. Vibha Kagzi, to join us shortly, post which we will be taking up all of your lovely questions and queries which have been coming in over the past month with regards to your study abroad plans, with regards to your career plans. So we're going to try and cover as much as possible in today's session. Of course, if you still have any further questions or queries, please feel free to drop them in the comment section below, and of course I will be happy to take it on as the show progresses. So yes, without further ado, I hope, Vibha, in case if you have tuned in, I am just waiting for you to send across your ad request and we can get the show started. So yeah, as always, an overwhelming response. A lot of you have sent a lot of questions from all over the country, all over the world. So yeah, we are going to be taking those up very shortly. Hi Vibha, I can see you. If you can, perfect. I'm just going to accept this.
Yeah, Ranis, I am super excited as well. So hold on tight. Okay. Hi, Vibha. How are you?
Hello, I'm good. How are you?
I'm all well. I hope you are as excited as I am on this lovely Friday evening to get our monthly show kick started. And I must tell you, there has been an overwhelming response of questions from all sorts of places, and it's going to be a super exciting show. So let's
Okay,
just hang in. Okay,
super.
great.
Let's get cracking then.
Okay, so for all those of you who've just tuned in, this is the monthly Insta Live session that we do every month with my CEO and founder, Ms. Vibha Kagzi from reachiv.com. For those of you, just a very brief introduction. Vibha has done her undergrad from Carnegie Mellon, went on to do her MBA from Harvard, and then came on to founding reachiv, which has been in the business for the past 12 years. She's also an author of Break the MBA Code. So all those of you who wish to go and study abroad, be it for your undergrad, masters, MBA, grab your copy on Amazon now. Okay. So I'm going to get started with our very first question, which is from Swaraj from Mumbai, who wishes to pursue an MBA. And the question is, can I secure an admit from a top tier university for my MBA despite my academics and job profile not being stellar?
Okay, great. Thanks for that question. So, look, when a business school looks at your profile, essentially they're going to look at it across 4 different domains, namely your academic experience, your leadership and extracurricular experience, your work experience, and your community involvement. So, in an ideal situation, obviously you want to showcase some sort of stellar achievement across all 4 domains, or at least 2 of the 4 domains. That being said, if you have poor grades, for example, but you can showcase stellar work experience, or if you have not that great work experience, but let's say you've done something for the community that's stellar, something's got to work in your favor, right? If you're going to be competing against a large applicant pool, something needs to work in your favor. Now, that being said, obviously, you have to also smartly choose the kind of colleges you apply to get a relative basis. If you're looking at colleges like the top tier colleges, the top 10, M10, etc., obviously the pool of candidates they're accustomed to getting is very sort of top league, top brands, top everything. So the real sort of way to think through this is figuring out where you really fit in, and that's where you are talking with an academic counselor advisor really helps, because with years of experience we sort of get a sense of what would be the right kind of college, like which tier would you fit into, and what sort of school you could call home. It really is trying to find the right fit. Given your background, what is the right sort of fit for you?
Okay, great. I'm going to take on the next question, which is from Dharti from Nagpur, who also wishes to pursue an MBA. And her question is it compulsory to take a GMAT for a candidate with 8+ years of banking experience and now wishes to pursue an MBA from an Ivy League? I also have an existing MBA, so can I apply for a PhD or a second MBA?
Okay,
Quite a bit of fast
so
there.
two questions. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll answer the PhD versus MBA thing. There are many people who go to do second MBAs. So second MBAs is very common, especially in a country like India. People have their first MBA very early on. They end up going to college, and then literally immediately from college they'll go get a degree in a master's in business. They have no work experience, no real context, no real sense of who they are and what they want to do. But just because the system is designed for you to go straight from college to business school, people do it. And then 5, 6, 7 years after that, they say, hey, I actually want to go to business school now because I am much older, I have more focus, I have more direction, I potentially want to live in Europe. For all those reasons, people do second MBAs. So your first MBA obviously will have to be explained in the application, but there are many people who do it, so you're not alone. There was another part of the question as well.
Yeah, she's saying she has 8 years of banking experience. So is GMAT still a compulsion for her?
Okay, yeah. So whether you have 1 year of experience or 8 years of experience, that sort of becomes irrelevant. The school will not give you a waiver basis your specific profile. There are waivers done for the applicant class as a whole. Given the corona situation, given a lot of people aren't able to take the tests, a lot of schools have gone test free, which basically means that they might not need the GMAT or the GRE. Depending on which year you're applying in, look at the college websites and see if they are okay with you not taking the GMAT, but there will be no separate distinction made or exemption given to you just because you have the 8 years of experience. Every candidate is expected to fulfill the exact same requirements.
Okay, great. Our next question is from Pavitra from Chennai, who also wishes to pursue an MBA. And the question is, how can you help me get an admit to University of California?
Oh, wow. Okay. So obviously the UC schools, the University of California school system, has several schools firstly within them, right? So there's UC Irvine, there's UC St. Davis, there's obviously UC Berkeley, which is, very popular in India and everyone wants to go there. Of course, going to school in California is big for people who want to be in tech, who want to become product managers, who want to benefit from being in and around Silicon Valley because you can build a network around there, intern there, etc. But Pavitra, the formula to getting into business school is very similar to what I explained just 4 minutes ago. So if you just rewind the chat and hear that, obviously in your specific case, Pavitra, if I got to do a counseling session, could break down your profile and do an audit for you, I'd be able to guide you very specifically. But the broad framework I provided should give you some guidance. So Sabahat, you want to tell them about the tool we have on our website, the audit tool? So that might be a good idea for some of them.
Yes, of course. So for those of you who just tuned in, if you visit our website, www.reachiv.com, we have a number of free resources which are available. So there's something which is called as a profile auditor tool, which is very specific to the degree that you wish to apply to. And it's a free tool. So you can go just, register on the website and make use of the profile auditor tool. And I'm sure it will give you a lot of details about your profile, about what needs to be done. And then, of course, if you wish to chat with one of our experts, you can just connect with the team and we'll take it forward from there. Right. So I'm going to take a quick question from the audience. Hi, Roshu03. So Roshu's question is 750 a good GMAT score for HBS? Also, I am looking to get an aviation private pilot license for a hobby. How will that be looked at by HBS?
Okay, great. Okay, hi Roshu, how are you doing? Of course, 750 is a good GMAT score, HBS or not. It's a good GMAT score in general. So I would not suggest a retake, please, because a lot of people, guys, whether this is SAT, ACT, GRE, GMAT, no matter what test we're talking about, don't over obsess about a test. Try to push yourself till you feel like you've hit that point where you've given it 2 attempts, maybe 3 attempts, and then also ensure that you work on other aspects of your profile, because sometimes I'll see someone who's so focused on the GMAT or GRE or ACT that the other aspects of the profile are completely ignored. And then sometimes it happens at the fourth attempt also, they come back saying, hey, I actually only scored a 1200 on my SATs. And then I say, hey, now we have a low score and we have nothing else to showcase. So, be sort of sensible about of knowing that how many times is enough for you. But 750 Roshu is a good score. Please do not bother taking again. Doing an advanced PPL license, I mean, look, it's not like business school has a list saying advanced PPL license, this goes in the excellent category. Shark diver certification license, excellent. It's not like they've taken a list of all the activities possible in the world and categorized them as excellent, good, average, reject, right? That's not how they think. The hobby should be truly basis your personal interest. After you do the certification, what are you doing with the certification? Right? Are you now flying across the world? Are you doing something that impacts the world with your personal hobby, etc.? So try to think of activities that you're personally passionate about, as opposed to checking off a list for school, right? So when I try to help someone build their profile, I always say, look, don't do this for college, don't do this for applications, right? Do this for yourself. So if you just remember that and say, I'm going to use the profile building as a medium of exploring myself and my passions, you'll be happier doing the profile building, and you'll truly be getting a better understanding of who you are and your personal interests, etc. So try to think of profile building from that perspective.
Great. Okay. Our next question is from Ben, who wants to know, is it possible to transfer as an undergraduate student?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, Graham. It is very much possible to transfer. We have many students almost every year who are transferring. You do 1 year in college in India, maybe 2, and then you apply. Of course, they would look for stellar academics, experience, etc. All the stuff they would look for from an undergraduate perspective. Obviously, it's a bit competitive because there are very few seats as opposed to going to a full admissions class starting college. When you're transferring around, there's a few seats, but because it also happens that students who might be at that particular college you're applying to also are trying to transfer out and go to another college, or for whatever reason, personal reasons, they might have to back out or drop out of college, etc. But the number of seats are very, very small. So you've got to work on a really strong application. Typically, transfer deadlines are in March of the year you will be starting college, as opposed to the previous year's November or January. You get a little more leeway. You get up to January, so that up to March, so that you can showcase all the stuff you've done in your application up to that point. So yeah, short answer to your question is yes, you can.
Great. I'm going to take a next question, which is from Nishant Malhotra from Delhi, who wishes to pursue an MBA. And his question is, how can one judge the best possible career options post the completion of a master's degree from MBA?
Okay, so the best possible career.
Sorry. We have a similar question from Kunjal Unatkat from Mumbai, who wishes to pursue a master's in marketing. And her question is, which country can land a better marketing job? US, UK, or Singapore?
Okay, so this is very interesting questions on about career prospects and which country, etc. So guys, the way I think about career prospects is, and this is obviously very personal, but there are different dimensions to what makes the right career, right? For some people, if you just put down motivations, right? For some people, it could be obviously money, right? Money is a primary motivator, and it sort of helps you define, like, I'm in the right career because I make X amount of money. For some people, it's brand, right? I'm in a good career because I get to work with this branded organization. For some people, it's impact, right? Where you say, hey, I work in this career because I'm able to impact X number of people. For some people, it could be work-life balance, where you say, hey, I'm happy, this is a really successful career choice for me because it's allowing me to balance my family life with my work life, right? And so on and on, right? There's a list of metrics that one can evaluate a successful career again. So this is very, very personal. Miss Unatkat and the other,
Nishant. Nishant.
Nishant, you've got to think about where if you define this matrix for yourself, where do you land on this matrix, right? How would you define what makes a successful job? Whether you find that job in the USA or UK or whatever, that's a secondary thing, right? But first you've got to think about how do you even define what success means for you, and then once you've defined those characteristics of success, then you can see which job sort of fits in. Of course, the United States is a huge, robust, thriving economy with tons of jobs. The pay scales there are very different. Visa regulations in the UK have become much more flexible. They are very open to people coming in and staying for minimum 3 years and then sort of moving on. So you've got to think of that dynamic also, right? Are you sort of in it for the short haul? You want to get a quick experience and get out, or are you thinking of building up a career trajectory in that country? So Nishant, think of all those layers that I discussed. And of course, I can add more layers and make this problem even more complex for you. But to just keep it simple, like just think maybe about the top 5 or 6 dimensions and maybe put a number against each dimension and then do a weighted average, etc. Just try to get a sense of, how would you first define a successful career, and then try to find a role or job that matches your definition of success in a career. And that's how I would answer that question.
Thank you so much, Vibha. I'm sure that was extremely insightful for anyone who's tuned in and anyone who's looking at understanding their job or career choices. So, wow, thank you so much. So, I'm going to quickly move on to our next question, which is from Luna_Comet. And her question is, due to the COVID situation, my 9th grade GPA is very poor, but I'm trying my best in the 10th. And is there any hope for me to get into a top university abroad?
Yeah, so, as I was explaining, like the grades are one component, right? Now, obviously, if you have stellar grades from 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, that's great. Good for you. There's no red flag to work around. You have a sort of straight A trajectory. Let's say you have a situation like yours where the grades aren't that good in the 9. What you could do is sort of showcase a hockey stick curve where, you go down and then you go all the way up. And the school says, hey, we like hockey sticks because you went all the way from down to up. And that also is a story to tell the schools. Let's say your grades ultimately aren't that stellar, you're not an A-star student all throughout, but end up creating some sort of impactful application or doing some sort of internship with the Ministry of social welfare. Things like that, right? Depending on the direction you want to take your life in, then schools will look at your profile holistically, especially in the USA and Canada. If you're someone who's very focused on getting into a British university, the British system is more sort of academically inclined, much like the Indian system, right? They will look for academic metrics initially and then sort of gradually look at other aspects of your profile. So you also should think about the geography in context to what your profile is looking like and try to match profile with country, because it makes a big difference as well.
Okay, great. Our next question is from Richa from Delhi, and her question is, I am a law graduate and now wish to pursue my LLM abroad. I want to understand the scope of getting an admission there in terms of application and scholarship options. Also, how can you assist me for the same?
Okay, hi Richa, nice to connect. In terms of LLM programs, plenty of options. Most of our students end up opting to go to the United States for LLM because the USA, of course, is home to some of the most prestigious colleges for law, and also is very welcoming of people who've done undergraduate degrees here in India. So you get like your LLB degree here, and then you go for your LLM to the US. It's common practice, and you can use that LLM and come back to home country or end up working in the US. Of course, if you end up working in the US, you might have to take certain examinations to qualify, like the bar exam, depending on which state or county, etc. you're in. But it's a very popular option. Now, in terms of getting in, of course, it's competitive. Getting into the top schools is supremely competitive, like it would be for any other degree, be it a master's in public policy or master's in data analytics or whatever it is that you choose. As I said, it is essentially you're looking to showcase expertise in your chosen domain. So build up your profile in a way that it shows that you've been supremely active. doing things above and beyond what your job or your college degree dictates, and ideally work for a year or two before applying for the LLM. So you can also figure out what sort of expertise you want to build, how you would use your LLM to focus on a certain area, as opposed to doing a generalized LLM. So think about those aspects and then take it from there.
Great. For those of you who just tuned in, and we answered a few questions before you guys could come in, but don't worry, this video is going to be posted on our IGTV, so you can definitely rewind it back and listen to the questions which were answered previously. All right. Moving on to our next question, which is from Mohammed from Kumbakonam. And the question is, I am a final year bachelor's in mechanical engineering student, and I wish to pursue a master's in AI course from Germany. Am I eligible to pursue the same since I have a background in mechanical engineering? And what would be a fee structure for the said course?
Okay, thanks for that question. Look, the question you're asking, it's completely dependent on the college you're trying to apply to. So I would, and the answer varies based on college. So can I just request that you go to the websites of the target colleges and check specifically to see if they are okay. Some colleges are okay with a general undergraduate degree, not even pursuing or not even an engineering degree specifically. Some would say we specifically need a computer science undergraduate degree. Some would say anything in the engineering domain. Some would say anything is fine as long as it's got a strong quantitative element to it. So we see variations of this answer. And I assure you, I haven't, scanned through and sort of brainwaved every single college and every single college's requirement. So just at the risk of not giving you wrong advice, I would request that you check the website of the colleges and you'd definitely be able to find the answer to that question.
Great. Okay, taking our next question, which is from Harshita from Chittoor. And her question is, I am a freelancing photographer and I plan to pursue a course in cinematography or photography. However, due to financial constraints, could you please guide me in terms of which country would be a good option for me?
Okay, great. Hi, Harshita. Good to connect. Look, if you want to do something in the creative space, you want to be in the creative part of every country, right? So I feel like every country has its sort of hubs and sort of zones of creativity. Of course, there are certain colleges that form mini hubs within larger cities. So if you look like a city like San Francisco, for example, while it's people talk about it being all high tech and everything's about digital and AI and all of that, the city also has this underlying creative vibe. Similarly, cities like Milan, Paris, London, again, hub cities for lots of things, also have a very underlying sort of very creative vibe. So if I were going to do a course in photography, I would pick one of these hub cities. Ideally, maybe even pick hub cities, like two or three hub cities, and try to do multiple short courses around different cities. And also with something like photography, I'd be very focused on the actual teacher, because obviously it's an art, and like with any art, you want to find the right guru, right? So in more than the college per se, because sometimes you say, okay, but it's the best colleges, then it might attract the best faculty members, which is a fair argument. But if I found a really good practitioner of photography who's off these colleges and off the radar from getting an endorsement from a college, but who says, hey, I'm conducting this 7-day workshop out in the Bahamas, or some islands in Spain or whatever, that's the kind of course I would do if I were you, to really get the crux of the learning from the right practitioner, and not fall so much for the stamp or the brand of a college, because this is it's sort of almost like a performing art, right? So you want to learn it from the best performer.
Great. The next question is from Priyanshi from Bareilly, who wishes to know, do you have any tips on SOPs and university selection?
Yes. Priyanshi, we have a lot of tips on SOPs and essays. It is the bread and butter of who we are and what we do. We are also, we have just started out our season. So we're in the thick of application and essay season right now at Reach Ivy. The whole office is buzzing with essays. I mean, it's literally what I'm doing with most of my free time right now. So there's a lot of essay work going on, and obviously we have tons of tips on it. I don't know what kind of specific tips you're looking for, but if you go to our website, if you go to resources, we have sample essays on from many different programs. We have tips on how to write an effective SOP. I mean, there's tons of free resources available. So I would say start there, and then if you feel you need professional help, then we're just one phone call or one email address away from you.
Great, great. Okay. Our next question is from Anaha from Hyderabad, who wishes to know how many years of work experience is a mandate to be eligible to apply to top 15 universities in the USA.
Do we know what degree she wants to
For
go
an
for?
MBA.
Okay, great. So Anaha, typically there's no specific requirement, right? Like it's again, it's not like India where it's not so cut and dry. There are programs that are designed for people to apply while they are in their final year of college, and you then would take maybe a 2-year break and start your MBA program. There are colleges that are designed for the similar program, like the Yale Silver Scholars, where you finish your undergraduate degree, apply in your final year, get in, start at Yale, spend a year there, then you go out and do some work, then you come back and sort of finish up. So there are many structures. There's also, but the typical sort of full-time 2-year MBA recommends that you do at least 2 years of work, full-time work experience. Of course, the average in the US and Canada is about 4.5, 5 years. In Europe, it's even higher. It's about 6.5 years. So depending on which geography you want to go to, just think about it in that perspective.
Great. We have a question from the audience, Traveler Stories _hey. And the question is, what type of jobs are available after MS in finance versus MBA? We did cover jobs a bit in detail in one of the previous questions. Yeah.
Okay. Hi, hello, Traveler Stories. I'll cover this very specifically since you're asking such a specific question. The MS in finance will open up doors to obviously several jobs, but as the degree connotates, it's going to be largely in finance, right? So you will end up getting options to work in investment banking, private equity, venture capital, just large banks in general, corporate banking, retail banking, etc. The jobs will be fairly technical because the master's in finance is a very practical sort of a degree with lots of advanced finance thrown in. So if you're really sort of a finance and numbers and quant junkie, that's the kind of program for you. The MBA is a broader degree, right? So it's also more geared towards management and leadership, etc. So typically after the MBA, while you might start out still doing some number crunching at an investment bank, etc., the typical life trajectory of someone who's done the MBA is to quickly move from like maybe 2-3 years of being an associate to maybe 2 years of being a VP to ultimately getting on the managerial pathway and then becoming MD or CEO or whatever of a large organization or starting your own company. So it's your skill set is more sort of generalized business as opposed to in a finance job, it's literally like doing the number crunching. So you want to know which side of the table you want to sit on.
Okay. The same person has a follow-up question also, which MBA fields are STEM designated?
So more than the specific fields, is certain schools have managed to get certain programs within them designated. If you go through the websites, you'll be able to find a list. But almost every top school has now managed to figure out not so much a field, but like an MBA concentration is what they are calling them. So if you do that, a concentration in a specific field, you'll be able to get it STEM designated. But they're all pretty smart. They've all managed to get some sort of quantitative program fall under the umbrella of it being a STEM designated program. So enough options, more than enough options.
Okay. We have another quick question from the audience, Narayana _Menon_SI. Is Masters of Management preferred over MBA if one has no work experience?
Yeah, good question, Narayan. And yes, the answer is yes. If you have no work experience, definitely applying to business school is A, difficult, B, almost impossible to get into any of the top programs. But the MIM is designed as a program for people with typically no work experience. And it's good. It's a great course for setting sort of your basics, getting the foundations of management and business in there. So yes, the answer is absolutely yes. You're right. If you have no work experience, you're probably better off doing the MIM for sure.
Okay. Another question from the audience. Anushri.101. Hi, Anushri. Question is small family business work experience good for a top tier college?
Okay, good question, Anushri. Thank you for asking that question. So again, there's no good or bad, right? So let's say hypothetically you work at a leading private equity fund, right? Really top branded fund, but your job doesn't allow you to get any frontline exposure, not really contribute much to the company, not really have any frontline impact. Then just having the brand or the shield of a top brand is not going to really help you, as opposed to you working for a small family business where you can show the impact you've had. But even if it's a small family business, the impact needs to still be large. And I worked at a small family business. When before I applied, I finished my college and I worked in my brother had set up a small business and that's where I worked. But before that, I had also worked with BlackRock Securities in New York, right? So I had worked with a large, well-established, well-branded, very sophisticated firm, and I had that brand on my CV. And then I did the family business, and then I ended up doing something more entrepreneurial. So I think just the small family business to get into a top school a little bit tougher to justify. But again, if you take a small family business and let's say you end up selling it to Unilever or something, right? So it depends on where you take that business, where it started and where it ended. So if you can showcase big impact, then you're fine. Otherwise, I'd say work in that business for a while, but then also top it up with some sort of, very sort of branded mainstream core experience for you to also just get that frontline experience in for yourself.
Great, great. So I'm going to move back to our questions. Our next question is from Priya from Mumbai, who wishes to know that I am planning to do my undergrad studies in France, and my 12th has just started, so I will be taking my board next year. When should I start applying to the colleges in France?
When should she start applying for her colleges in France?
Yeah.
For her master's?
Undergrad.
Okay. Undergraduate colleges, they have a sort of standardized deadline. Just look up the colleges and follow through their deadlines. If they have multiple deadline rounds, I would suggest applying obviously as early as you can. But don't apply too early if you haven't still received your grades. If there's something that you're doing at school, an extracurricular project, etc., that's going to actually start showing results later on. So be sensible about which round you apply in. But definitely avoid the final rounds because, as the class sort of starts getting selected, the last round is something that I don't really.
Great. Our next question is from Pratyush Shinde from Thane, who wishes to know that I want to fix a career counseling session with you. How do I go about with the same? And the next one is from Kuloga, which is an Instagram handle, and he wishes to know how much do you charge for your master's consultancy?
Okay, so you want to take that generally?
Yes, I think for both Pratyush and for Goa or anyone out there who wishes to avail of Reach IV services, you can visit our website www.reachiv.com and submit a query, or just reach out to us directly on our Instagram handle. You can DM us and someone from the team will get in touch with you, or drop an email to help@reachiv.com. We are accessible and available across all platforms, and don't worry, someone from the student advisory team will get in touch with you and we'll take it forward from there.
So just to answer specifically, like how we can help, we start working with applicants as early as 4 or 5 years before they're going to apply. So there were lots of questions today about building profile, low grades, what sort of work experience, how many years of experience. Those are things that we would answer. Right now I've given very sort of broad-based general answers, but depending on your exact profile, over the period of 3, 4, 5 years, we've been talking about how to pick the right job for you, what extracurricular activities to do, what leadership, etc., which country you should be going to. And then we obviously help with in our application process, writing SOPs, essays, etc., recommendation letters. We also help with interview preparation, waitlist situations, scholarship letter. I mean, it's literally we're a 360-degree shop.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Okay. Our next question is from Rajat, who wishes to know, I am a CA and have done 3 years of articleship with ENY. Will these years be considered as work experience?
Okay, hi Rajat. Very good question, and it's a very, very important and pertinent question. So, for any other chartered accountants in the house, definitely listen out. What these schools, when they write, X number of work experiences, they mean postgraduate work experience. So, whenever you graduate, let's say your articleship is halfway done, right? Let's say from your 3 articleship, you've done 18 months and 18 months are still to go. The 18 months that happen post graduation will be considered as full-time work experience, and that's how they will map your applicancy. So if you say I graduated in 2015 and then till half of 2016 I finished my articleship, then I did this. So when we're saying 4.5 years is the average experience in Canada and the US, that 1.5 years would be counted towards that 4.5 years. The stuff you did before that, while it won't be dismissed, and they obviously, the colleges now have a pretty good understanding of the articleship, they will not count it as full-time work experience, even though for most people the articleship is actually above and beyond a full-time work experience, but they don't really consider it as such.
Okay, great. Our next question is from Gauranj from Rohtak, who wants to know, will a BA major in subjects like political science and industrial relations help me secure a good job in the USA?
Yeah, of course. Honestly, it depends on what you're really passionate about, right? And if you just rewind this chat, I explained like what is a good job for you and what is a successful job. Please, everyone who's watching, define that matrix for yourself. Because once you define it, you will know what sort of job you want to chase and what sort of job will make you feel like, hey, I have a good job, right? Because not everyone working at Goldman Sachs and making $1 million thinks it's a good job, right? So try to figure out what is a good job for you. And for me, I think a big matrix, a big sort of criteria for what makes a job good is just like, am I happy doing what I do? Is this something that truly makes me happy? Am I happy going back home every day and saying, hey, I'm deeply satisfied with what I do? So if you're doing international relations and public policy is what makes you happy, there's plenty of firms and organizations that political think tanks, even corporate firms who have sort of governance issues or have to liaise with the government, and lots of options and a lot of applications of these degrees in the real world. So don't fret if that's what you enjoy doing. I assure you, you'll find something to do.
Great. Our next question is from Amit from Alwar, and his question is, I want to pursue an MBA in healthcare management from top universities such as Harvard. Can you please help me with regards to the same?
Yeah, sure. So, Amit, like we've been saying through the whole thing, I discussed this when I was speaking about profile in general. I also broke it down for LLM a bit. Very similar for healthcare management as well, right? Like if that's what you want to do, you've got to showcase to the university that, look, this is what I want to do, and this is what I've been doing all these years towards this passion of mine. So if you want to be in healthcare management, make sure you've done some certain internships in line with that. You have some, you'll have to build a profile that really showcases to the college that this is who I am, this is what I want to do, this is what I'm passionate about, and here's a list of all the things I've done towards that very interest. But for these specialized masters, they're not really looking for, hey, I also go scuba diving and I also, play tennis or whatever. They're looking for very focused match of your background to that potential degree.
Okay, great. Next question is from Naveen from Bangalore. And Naveen wants to know, what are the typical interview questions which are asked before an MBA admit?
Okay, good question, Naveen.
Yeah.
So actually, there's a bunch of questions. Can I request that you go to our blog, reachiv.com/blog, and just put in the search, MBA interview questions. And if you go to our resources also, you will find resources on MBA interview questions. And we have a free tool which allows you to do interview prep on our website. So the tool it's like a mock interview tool. And if you just go in and do a mock, we've pre-fed it with some of the most common questions asked in MBA interviews. So that's a really good starting point as well. It'll give you a flavor of what it's like to hear a voice that asks you a question and how you need to respond to that. So most definitely give that a shot and see how it works for you.
Great. Next question is from Prince Kumar from New Delhi. And he's saying, is it true that it's difficult to get a PhD scholarship after pursuing a master's from a foreign university, since most of the scholarships have a clause that the beneficiary should not have studied abroad earlier?
No, this is not true. I don't know where you're getting this information from, Preet, but there are many people who do masters. I mean, they intentionally will leave, let's say, India or China or Korea or whatever, to do a masters in Europe or the US or whatever, so that they're on the PhD track and they can quickly, easily progress within the same university in most cases towards the PhD, or once they've got the masters from a recognized Western university, transition to another recognized Western university for their PhD. So some misinterpretation of that.
Great. Okay. Taking our last question, this is from Christina Shekhar. And her question is, I'm currently pursuing BMS. Is it a good idea to gain 2 years of work experience and then pursue my higher studies abroad? Also, which country is the best to pursue business-related studies, and what will be the average cost for the same?
Okay, so this is for masters, I'm presuming, Christina.
She's saying masters or MBA.
Okay, masters and maybe like a postgraduate degree.
Yeah.
Which country, when someone asked me which country, I said, more than which country I want to be in, I'd also definitely be focused on what, college I get into. Because no matter where I go, I want to make sure I'm studying at one of the top tier universities, right? Because with business schools, postgraduate programs, most definitely the kind of school you end up at is really what makes or break it, right? There is a strong brand affinity that companies have, and there's no major difference in costing, right? So, Christina, in terms of costing for masters and MBA, typically it would be anywhere from $50,000 to $75,000 depending on the country and school. So, but these figures are easily available on every college's website. So I'd say, suggest you look at those. She had a third element to her question. Which
Yes,
country,
she
how much
also,
will it cost?
yeah, which country, how much will it cost, and whether she should first gain 2 years of work experience and then look at studying abroad.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Thanks, Christina, for asking that. And whoever else is listening, if you're looking at a postgraduate program, I am a big proponent of working in whatever field you think you want to get your master's in, because master's degrees are super specialized. You're making a strong commitment to studying a year or 2 years in a very specialized domain. You will literally spend the entire year or 2 years only doing classes in that domain. So before you make that sort of firm endorsement or commitment to a program, it's best that you work for a year or two in that field, understand how it works practically. Because remember, school is short, right? In a year or two, you'll be out in the big bad world and you're back into the workspace. So you want to make sure you spend a year or two in the workspace, actually practically seeing how that degree manifests, and then it'll either dismiss that degree for you, where you'll say, hey, I'd never want to do a master's in computer science because I spent 2 years coding and that's not really where I see myself, or it'll give you a strong affirmation that's saying, oh my god, I love my 2 years of being a PHP or Java or whatever developer, and I'm so looking forward to my master's in artificial intelligence to take my learning, you know what I mean? So just having that 2 years will either negate or reaffirm a preference for a certain field, therefore making your master's experience even more enjoyable because you're going in with this renewed confirmation and zest. So I always pick that route.
Okay, great. Vibha, thank you so much for joining in and answering all of the questions for today. And okay, last one, I think, someone in the audience. Priya Sharma, PhD versus Masters.
Let's do a last question and close.
Yeah, Priya Sharma in the audience wants to know PhD versus Masters.
PhD versus Masters. This is a very personal question, right? when what I just explained, like the master's is a firm commitment towards a certain field, take that and multiply by 100, right, in terms of commitment. With a PhD, you're making an even stronger commitment to a certain field. So this is really personal. If you feel like you want to dedicate 5 years of coursework, academic work, research-oriented work to a certain field, and you want to understand it from sort of the belly up, then the PhD is the right program for you. a good sort of stepping stone to the PhD is the masters, right? I suggest apply for 2 years, do the masters, see how much you enjoy the master's experience, the theoretical experience, the research experience, and whether you want to go down the academic or sort of research oriented understanding of a certain field. If you like the master's, enjoy, then apply for the PhD. If you're satiated with your knowledge at the master's level, I would say step out and enjoy the real world application of what you learn in 2 years. So see which side of the fence you're personally leaning on, but take it one step at a time.
Okay, great. That's it, Vibha. Thank you so much for joining in, and I look forward to catching up with you again next month with our next episode of
All right. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Aishwarya, Traveler Stories, Anushri, Narayan, Vani, Siddhika, Aman, Shreya, Abel, Dikshit, Avni. There's so many names here. Thank you all for joining and listening. And we'll be back next month. And stay tuned. All right. Thank you. Thanks, Abahad, as always, for leading this.
Thank you. Thank you. Great. Lovely. Okay. Thank you all of you for tuning in and being such a wonderful audience as always. As discussed during the scope of the AMA session, for those of you who wish to make use of our free resources, kindly log on to our website. Under resources, go to free tools and you can have your profile audited, get help on your resume, essay editor, interview preps, co-converters, and I'm sure that will be super helpful for all of you. And for those of you who wish to get in touch with us, feel free to drop us an email or connect with us on Instagram or through our website. I wish all of you a great evening and looking forward to connecting with you again next month. So stay tuned and keep following reachiv.com. Bye-bye.